There was this corner office on the 12th floor, glass on 2 sides, a dry erase wall on the 3rd, and an air so cold the blinds used to shiver in the AC. I never stepped inside. I didn't need to, because everything that mattered to that floor, the dashboards, the deployment flow, the alerts, the uptimes, the CI/CD lanes, the on-call fail-safes, they lived in the back-end systems I built. I didn't design the coffee machine. I designed the infrastructure no one thought about until it broke. My name is Erin. I used to be part of a DevOps team in a tech firm that prided itself on culture. Open seating, weekly, all-hands dog-friendly Fridays. But culture means nothing when your badge scans, but your voice doesn't. I joined the company 6 years ago as a junior sysadmin. I worked nights others wouldn't. Took shifts during system overhauls, patch weekends, launch windows. I didn't showboat. I just fixed things. Silently. Consistently. That was my first mistake. They called me quiet. Not in a kind way. More like unremarkable. Like silence was incompetence. Then I got good, really good. I built an internal deployment tracker that caught rollback failures before QA did. I created a rollback strategy that saved our ass during a holiday outage. I wrote automation that cut our deployment time by half, but I never got invited to speak about it. Just told to document it. In Confluence. For the team. I didn't mind. I thought that was the game, until they hired Devon, fresh out of a name brand school. Zero prod experience. Tall, loud, always interrupting. During our first team huddle, he called me Ops Girl. Yo, Ops Girl, can you check the staging certs again? Something's funky. I blinked once. Didn't answer. Just fixed it. Silently. Next meeting, he laughed with the tech lead and said, I swear you could swap half the team with AI and no one would notice. Especially her. They laughed. I typed. 2 weeks later, he got assigned as my collaborator on a migration I'd been preparing solo for 3 months. When I opened the updated architecture draft, I saw his name first. Mine wasn't on it. I didn't complain, but I saved the previous version. And the logs. Then came the moment that broke something in me clean sudden. It was a Friday evening. Quarterly roadmap presentation. We had a guest, our new VP of engineering. First time meeting the teams. Our CTO walked through a few slides, then gestured to Devon. This next part, he smiled. Devon here has been leading some innovative automation work. Let him walk you through it. It was my rollout script. Word for word, line for line. And I sat there. 3rd row from the front. My chair slightly off-center, watching Devon grin as he spoke about agile deployments and CI predictability. No one mentioned my name. No one looked my way. I didn't even blink, but the VP said something I'll never forget. Not because it hurt, but because it was expected. He leaned back, nodded thoughtfully and said, This is good. Didn't expect DevOps work from a team this lean, especially with the diversity initiative. Glad to see it's not slowing delivery down. The CTO chuckled. We don't let politics mess with productivity, sir. Then they moved on. And I just faded into the next slide. Later that night, someone forwarded me the internal email recap. Devon's name appeared 4 times. Mine wasn't mentioned once. I stared at the screen. Not in rage, not in tears. Just quiet, still, focused. I reread my contract. I downloaded my latest Git logs. I created a fresh clone of the deployment framework under a private namespace. And for the first time in 6 years, I didn't feel like fixing anything. I felt like building something of my own. I didn't quit that week. I watched. I listened. And I planned. I didn't walk out that Friday night. I didn't rage quit, throw my badge on the table, or write a viral Medium post. I logged into the server. And I ran my usual health checks like nothing had changed, because the truth is nothing had. Not really. That wasn't the first time a man got credit for my work. Wasn't the first time someone looked right through me in a room I built with my own keystrokes. Wasn't the first time my silence was mistaken for consent. But it would be the last time I left the system in their hands. I started with backups. Not just the standard mirror sets or the rolling snapshots. I built a separate cold copy, isolated, obfuscated, stored with two-factor offsite auth. The kind of backup no one asked for. Because no one knew it existed. Then I did something I hadn't done in 6 years. I printed everything. The original deployment scripts, the Git commits under my ID, the Slack threads where I first proposed the architecture, even the server logs tied to my IP when the pipeline launched. Each document had a date, a signature, a timestamp no one could rewrite. I bought a black folder. Matte, silent, elegant. I didn't label it. I just called it in my mind the truth. Meanwhile, Devon kept talking. In meetings, he quoted my documentation. He whiteboarded my rollback plan. He even started mentoring a new intern, repeating my words like gospel, but with that smug confidence only the untested wear so casually. The CTO loved him. Proactive, sharp, confident. He once leaned over during lunch and whispered, "We need more guys like him. Tech first. Not caught up in all that diversity drama." I didn't respond. I just finished my sandwich and emailed myself a backup of that comment, for some reason. Then came the shift. We got a big contract. Government side. Sensitive, high-scale, multi-region infrastructure. They needed everything compliant, secure, bulletproof. The kind of system I was born to design. But Devon got the lead, not because he understood the scope or the compliance model or the risk table, but because he presented well. I watched him pitch my earlier frameworks like they were new. I watched leadership nod, even when he made basic errors in terminology. And then on a Wednesday morning, I got a meeting invite. Subject mentor. Assignment, please support Devon on government infrascope. I stared at the email. Mentor. That word stayed in my throat like a shard of glass. I was being asked to support someone who didn't understand subnetting from sharding. Someone who didn't even know we used failover by region, not instance. But I clicked accept. Not out of obedience, out of strategy. Because here's what Devon didn't know. Government contracts have audits, metadata tracking, endpoint signatures, repository fingerprints, and every single commit I made under his lead would be stamped with my credentials. I wasn't building his infrastructure. I was laying the blueprint of mine under their nose. Quietly, I started restructuring the deployment tools. I containerized pieces of our old monolith in my spare time. Optimized, isolated, versioned them. On weekends, I registered a shell company. On nights, I spun up instances in my own private cloud, mirroring what I built during office hours, but under better architecture. Everything legal. Everything logged. Everything mine. The CTO once walked by my desk and said, "Don't work too hard, Erin. You're good at keeping the lights on, but the boys will take it from here." I smiled. "Sure, I'm just keeping the power bill low." He laughed. He didn't realize I wasn't keeping the lights on. I was building the grid. When their demo crashed, they called it sabotage. I called it poor design. The government demo was scheduled for 9:00 a.m. on a Monday. By 9:17, the live test environment was unresponsive. By 9:26, the regional load balancer had failed. By 9:38, the CTO was cursing in the hallway. By 10:04, they pulled the plug. The room went silent like a gun had gone off. Devon stood frozen in front of the touch panel, mumbling something about endpoint latency. One of the engineers tried to reroute traffic manually. Another scrolled through logs that told them nothing. The VP looked at me. I didn't speak. I didn't move. I just folded my arms and watched the floor implode. The failure wasn't mine. Not this time. I'd warned them 2 weeks ago that the Docker build was missing security hardening. I sent an internal audit request for load testing the API under real volume. I wrote a 3-page report highlighting the mismatch in token expiration across zones. All marked, reviewed in Confluence, all ignored. Devon had copied my old architecture, but not the parts I revised. He didn't know I'd deprecated 2 internal libraries. He didn't notice that the environment variables hadn't been encrypted since we moved to the new Vault system. He built a copy of something he didn't understand, and it collapsed exactly where it was supposed to. After the call, I went back to my desk. People were scrambling around me. Slack was on fire. Post-mortem invites went out. But I sat still, because while they blamed the API gateway and speculated about hardware bugs, I knew the truth: the infrastructure had done exactly what it was supposed to do. It failed when it no longer recognized the keys. By the next day, Devon was removed from the project. The CTO called me into his office. For the first time in years, he looked uncertain. He asked if I could assist in rebuilding the system for the second attempt quietly. No blame, just support. I said yes, but I never intended to stay. That night, I logged out for the last time. I archived my work email. I deleted the VPN credentials. I left my badge in the break room drawer, and I walked out without a word. By then, my own infrastructure was fully operational. I had clients, quiet ones, startups that needed scalable DevOps without the arrogance, agencies tired of vendor lock-in, a few former co-workers who knew where the real stability came from. I didn't call it revenge. It was design. The system I built in silence was now theirs to rent on my terms through my platform. And that's when the email came from Devon. Subject: Hey Aaron, need a favor. He wrote like nothing had happened. Said their internal infra was struggling. Asked if I'd be open to consulting just short term. Said they were trying to replicate what I helped build, but couldn't match the reliability. I read it twice, then a third time. There was no apology, just need. The second email came 2 days later from the CTO. Would love to reconnect. Exploring outside vendors. I hear great things about the new infrastructure platform you're behind. Let's chat. There it was. The moment people dream of. When those who dismissed you now depend on what you made. I didn't smile. I didn't feel triumphant. I just replied politely. Our onboarding for new clients begins with a 6-month retainer and a 3-week audit phase. I'll have my associate send over the contract. Let me know if your legal team needs any clarifications. That was it. No gloating, no flourish, just business. They once said I didn't belong. Now they sign my terms just to stay online. The contract was signed on a Thursday. Easy signature, no ceremony. Just a silent digital mark on the bottom right of a PDF they didn't read closely enough again. 6 months, $360,000. Non-refundable retainer. Infrastructure audit at my discretion. They paid it in full. No one at their company ever said my name out loud. Not in meetings, not in emails, not in the Slack channels I now had read-only access to. But I saw it in the fear behind their metrics, in the frantic questions to junior devs, in the late-night logs they uploaded to my audit dashboard, without realizing I'd built it to be watched, not used. That was always the difference. They shipped to impress. I built to endure. The CTO tried to schedule a call. Just to catch up, he wrote. No pressure. I declined politely. My team handled the onboarding. I didn't need to show up anymore. Infrastructure isn't personal. It's structural. And the structure had already shifted. I never told my story. Never posted about it. Never tweeted some thread about rising above. Because this wasn't about revenge. It was about ownership. Of code, of silence, of the space they never thought I'd claim until I owned it completely. I still remember the last time I walked past their old office. It looked smaller, familiar, but hollow. A place that once held me hostage in the shadows, now leasing my tools to stay online. I paused outside for a second, not to look in, but to let go. Then I turned away, phone buzzing in my pocket, with a new client notification. A biotech firm, West Coast, urgent infra rebuild. 60K scope. I answered it with the same tone I used when I worked in their basement server room. Calm, direct, quiet. Let's talk architecture. They said I didn't belong. Now they rent the ground I walk on. Subscribe, leave a comment, and follow me to hear more incredible stories coming your way.